treasurer though, because of years of funds missing during your administration. So if you're going to talk about positions, that's, no. When you look at the city secretary, some of the antics that the council does, these long meetings and the way you disrespect people, is some of why we no longer have one. So you want to know the reason? You got it.
That is not to one bit true, because some of us still have continuous relationship with these people.
With the attorney, but she said that.
No,
that's what she told me.
Thank you. Hold on. Anything else? Any other questions under administration? Go ahead, Councilman Jones.
Yes, sir. My administration report question would be, what's the update upon the development process and forms to notify our citizens that we have rectified a problem in which Councilmember Roland Gizante brought meetings ago for the certificate of occupancy, commercial new remodel. Basically, the idea in which was brought up from Via Veritas. Any update upon that?
Yes, I believe council got BCC on my response to the city attorney Bounds on the letter that he was writing. Did you all, hold on, did you all receive that? No, I'm just making sure it went out and you got it.
No. That wasn't my question.
Okay. Then I'll take care of that this evening.
No, the question was specific. We voted, and this is no disrespect to you, Mr. Mayor. I think sometimes if you just listen to us, we are trying to be on the same page as you. We simply said that we voted to accept a process for our commercial development. And since you are the administrator, the mayor of the city, who's supposed to be executing on these things, we asked for the documents to be put out in City Hall. Councilman Randall asked for the documents to be uploaded on the city website. And we're asking you administratively, a month later, where are we at in that process, and when do you think it will be able to get done?
It's my understanding they were uploaded. That's in response to that. That's my understanding. If they weren't, then that's an in-house thing, and they can be uploaded. It's not like people don't have access to them. Anybody that asks for them, we give it to them. So putting it on the website is not an issue. The other thing is, if we have a ordinance in place, short of doing a new ordinance to change that, you don't just sit up here and vote out an ordinance without proposing one to supersede it.
One was proposed. So let's do a favor. I think Councilmember Brian just mentioned a good thing about, like, don't feel as though we're attacking you. My question was that, you say that it's our job to write policy. Once policy is approved and going to act, then it's your job to follow in which the policy in which that we wrote. Right. So we have been having a problem in this area, and Councilmember Wallace and Councilmember Brown brought us a process for us to go about this in a different manner. So my question is, the process in which the policy in which they wrote, is it being followed? And Councilmember, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Their policy was or what y'all voted on was to follow Bureau Veritas's policy. We have a contract with Bureau Veritas that all of you had received before, and if you look at that, we're following Bureau Veritas's policy.
Mr. Mayor.
Again, if we have a specific thing, let's address that, but you're constantly talking in generalities. Follow a policy. Which specific policy is not being followed?
Bureau Veritas, in which the city of West has a policy for a certificate of occupancy, commercial new remodeling, and we asked for those things to be updated. Councilmember Brian, he brought the paperwork in which is followed, and we asked for that to be our process in which we adopted. Council, we voted and we approved that be the process in which we adopt. So that means that should be the process that the city of Purview is following. Then that also, Councilmember Jonathan Randall has stated for the policy to be posted and for citizens to be able to come and get it. Last meeting, Brian had asked, was the policy brought up to date and were we following that policy? Ms. Dickey said that she didn't know of the policy or even knew whether or not the policy was being enforced. So my job is to bring that.
What you have to do is take a look at exactly what you voted on. Because it said to follow the city, the Bureau Veritas in the city of West and how it handles other cities. Well, who do you think we are? We're included in the other city component.
And we also made a motion in which we had moved to adopt, because at first we was like adopt all of them. Then it was stated we only could adopt the ones that was brought forth, and Councilmember Rowland was going to be bringing them forth.
Yes, Councilman Randall.
Just for clarification, I think what we voted to adopt was a specific form, a specific form of documentation. I think that's what we're referring to, what Councilman Watson is referring to, not the process, but the forms that we use in which we follow the process. And that was the documentation that was presented that had West on the top. And then, so we're not talking about the process. We understand that we're following Bureau Veritas' process, but we weren't using the same documentation that they were using for other cities. So we voted to incorporate those documents to coincide with the process. And then we voted that those documents be put on the city website. And to your and Ms. Dickey's defense, in the last meeting, it was stated that they hadn't been uploaded yet because Judge Alexander had been out sick.
Okay, she has the website.
Yeah, so what Councilman Jones is asking is, since then, have any updates been made as far as the action that we took as far as the documentation and its availability?
Well, Judge, who handles the website, who we pay for that, is still out. So I hope that answers that question. Does this continue?
It does, and so hopefully, and I appreciate your response and Councilman Randall's. We know we have voted to approve something. We are waiting on them to change the website, to change the logos from West to Prairie View, and they'll change out the wording. That was said to have been done, and they're waiting to post it. As we transitioned two weeks ago, I guess in the administration, our issue is that, Mr. Mayor, that we shouldn't have to come back and remind you of the things that we voted on in the process or new policies that we've implemented. This should be something that you document, something that you respond to us. See, this report and all these things are supposed to be for you to be able to come back and it's like, you know, we talked about 5 things, we were able to get 3 things done, we weren't able to get these 2 things because of this. And so if we could stop playing with the semantics, and I think we're all about the business of this city, and so hopefully moving forward, we can get those responses, because I think that was something monumental. You know, we can't go back and talk about when you weren't here, you're here, the new mayor, you're leading us. We adopted a process, this council, with a letterhead that says the city of Prairie View, and I'd hope that could be on the website before our next meeting, and that you would reassure us and say, I'm going to get it done.
Well, let me share something with you, because maybe you bring out the salient point that we need to be talking about. As you shared with Councilman Jones, Houston mayor has these department heads and does all that. Well, I am it. Last night, I was out till 1:30 on a sewage treatment plant break. What you all were talking about since the last two weeks, you want done for now, forget it. I'm telling you now. If you're not going to roll up your sleeves and get in here and help, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback. Why don't you all, who wants the project on making the copies that y'all want emailed? You want to do it, Councilman Wallace? Because I'll give it to you.
I'll take it. We had a word.
No, hold on. Please pass that.
Mr. Mayor.
No, hold on. No, let me finish my point. If council makes policy,
Yes, sir.
there's a lot of work to be done in the city, and right now that's primarily on my back, and you ain't making me work any harder than I've been working. If you want to do something, do something. If you want to talk, just talk. But you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't say Houston has all these department heads and employees and we don't, and I'm handling that, and you want all this stuff done from 1 2-week period to the next, or I'm accountable for it. I own up to what I haven't done. I own up to what I haven't done. Do you own up to what you haven't done since you've been on council? Because I know mine. Yes, sir, Councilman Randall.
I just want, just for clarification, I think, things are often taken as personal attacks. I think Councilman Jones was just asking for an update. And so if you could have said that you've had a lot going on and you haven't been able to get to it yet, I think that would have been a sustainable answer. Nobody's trying to make you quote unquote work. We just asking for updates about things that are already in motion. So if you say you got to it yet because there's been a lot going on in the city, I think that's an acceptable answer. It's not a personal attack. We're just saying, can you update us on the things that we've done in the past, and then we move on from there. It doesn't have to turn to an argument or like a heated debate. I think you can just say, hey, I haven't got to it yet, but we're working on it.
And I agree with you, but that's not what comes out. What comes out is, why hasn't it been done? So that's what I'm giving you. It hadn't been done based on activity. Councilwoman Williams.
Mayor Allen, I know that the copier is broke or what have you, and maybe somebody can go on campus and make copies, but I don't think these documents need to leave City Hall.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. Well, if you want to email them and see if that works, Councilman Wallace, the copy machine, that component may work.
Yeah, I gotta scan.
And that way, y'all can scan it and that'll be fine. Yes, okay,
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for the administration.
go ahead.
We've asked for an update, or I want to ask for that we implement a monthly report of housing, of permits. Part of the things you mentioned about the altitude of Houston, all the people, the city council have tried to get you the support you need in different departments. You haven't hired a treasurer, you haven't hired some of the things, for whatever reason. We're doing the best we can, and we understand that you are filling the gap. The question, I don't think, no council member have not offered to work on anything, you just won't give up control. And so I'll simply ask that what's important for us moving forward, we can't talk about what's happened in the past. One of the things in your administrative report is because we want to know, it's important that we know how many permits or any development that's going on in the city, and that in your administrative report, whether it be for that 2-week quarter or for the month, but you may not be able to do it for every meeting, so maybe for the month, you say we've gotten 4 residential permits and we've gotten 2 commercial permits with the information, the 1-page information in our permits. Because that will help us to be able to, we don't know what support you need because we only hear about the stuff after it's done.
Well, I think that's a great idea. You want to oversee the permits? You can get them from the people up front. They put them in the computer. They'll probably run you the report. You want to take them on that?
I will.
Okay, so that's done. Councilman Jones.
My next question is upon, I did hear you state briefly, is there any update upon the letter in which we had asked for Attorney Scott Houston to send out? Another question that I would have is a concern of, like, we have very important issues that I guess upper part of our slate, and each city council meeting we have a different attorney. So how do we know who is the point of contact upon? I'm pretty sure council today is not up to date with what happened in our emergency meeting. So how do we move the city efficiently with each meeting having a different city attorney being brought out?
Well, we're working to finalize the city attorney. We talked about that earlier, but when you contract with a law firm, you contract with a firm, not a particular attorney. And they have been doing a great job to make sure that we've had counsel, but Attorney Hayes has still been that point of contact. She's been in touch with counsel here and all the others. I spoke with her as recently this evening, but we're about to try to finalize that roughly in a couple of weeks, so that's really not an issue, but you don't have any control over that.
So what is being done with the letter in which that we asked for, and
Oh.
Scott Houston has stated in which that he would, be our point of contact and take that up upon the board? What is the
Okay.
process of that?
Well, let me give you that, because that's what, and that was on my part, because I shared that information with, when I read the letter that Attorney Bounds is his name, when he wrote the letter and I read it, I realized we had these different reports. I had a meeting last week with Miss Donnell Rogers of Bureau Veritas in my office, and what we realized was that Panther Hill Apartments had been submitting these papers to the city, but because they were in such regular touch with Bureau Veritas, I thought they were giving them to Bureau Veritas. Well, it turns out they weren't. So when I shared that with Attorney Bounds, he simply shared with me to share that information with you all, and I thought I forwarded that email. So I know I set it up, maybe somehow it went into draft, but that's what happened with the letter. So that's something, as soon as we leave here, I can make sure I share with you. So you see what he wrote, you see what I wrote, and you see what went on with Bureau Veritas. Because, and the point being, Bureau Veritas is our independent contractor. If Panther Hill did what they were supposed to do in giving us the documents and we didn't share them, that's not on Panther Hill, and Attorney Bounds understood that. But that's where we are with the letter.
So they've been giving us documents, but we didn't share those documents with the attorney, is that what you're saying?
No, with Bureau Veritas, we didn't have to share them with the attorney.
But the attorney did state that he wanted all the, like, he wanted to be brought up to date and everything that's going on with Panther Hill, so how was those documents left out from the attorney hand for him to get?
Well, he spoke with Ms. Rogers directly. So he didn't need the documents, he spoke to the source. And when we found out that there was a lack of, I'll just say, communication between us and our contractor, he understood and agreed and just simply asked me to share it with council, since that council had requested a letter. In other words, there no longer became need to send a letter to people for not doing what they indeed had done.
But see, that decision is not made upon you. Council had asked for a report for a statement to be brought to us, so that way we can move forward with issuing the letter. So we don't know what was seen or what was stated. So could that information please be provided towards council with the letter and Attorney Bounds stating in which the letter didn't need to be sent to you?
Not a problem. Like I said, I thought I sent it, but I'll be glad to send it right after this evening. Anything else? Yes.
Administrator, we talked about Bureau Veritas, we got the contract. Did you have a date for a meeting, updated contracts? We're supposed to be going over this, and also with USW. Where are we going to go to?
With Bureau Veritas, it rolls over unless council decides to do something different. And we're putting out for the bidding. We got the final FEMA report from USW, which is why we kept them on board, because they was handling a lot of that financial stuff for us even. But now we can go out for regular bid, and I talked to them about that.
So two things. One, with Bureau Veritas, the issue was we had contracted them to do some services. We were supposed to be having a conversation because you had brought them on to use them for fire services, and then you went to use an independent contractor, and we want to make sure that in the contract we're currently using Bureau Veritas as our fire inspector, so they're signing off on all that. The second thing, with USW, we're in an emergency contract. When are we going to get? So, are we going out to do we have to go out to an RFP, or are we just going to negotiate out of the emergency contract? Can you give us?
It requires an RFP,
Okay,
because it's in excess of potentially $50,000.
So can you give us? So when is this administratively? So we know moving forward. When is that process going to start, or how is that going to look? And you just said I'm going to go into the RFP. So that's just what's going to happen.
Sure, Councilor Randall.
Councilor, why don't, when we get to new business, you request that that both issues be put on the next agenda so we can actually discuss them in depth, because we're on reports, we can't go into in-depth on the specifics, so we can put it on the subsequent agenda so we can talk about those things. We can take any necessary action going forward without, talking about stuff or talking around stuff that we can't even get to the meeting.
Okay, next item, finance. Mr. Johnson, you have anything you need to share with us?
Okay, good evening to the mayor, city council members, department heads, and residents. Council, I've left two documents on your desk there. One is that's white, is the approved budget. And you can just put that in your folder that you got and substitute that or just put it on top. Okay, the financial report has the red cover on it. Now, we're through August, which is the 11th month of this current fiscal period. And if you would turn to page 1.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Can you again tell us why we're not looking at September?
I haven't gotten the data yet.
Every month we look at this, we're behind, and we should be more up to date. Why are we this behind?
Well, because,
Until
again,
bank statements and everything
yeah,
come out.
come in.
Yeah, this is early in the month. That's how
This
business
early
works.
month.
No.
You can't, no.
It's always
September's-
been this way.
Right.
Always.
Yes, he has to get the compound data
Yeah.
from September. So he has to get
No way I could do September today.
the 8th.
The bank statements haven't even come out for September.
Exactly.
We don't meet the first. Okay, go ahead.
Today is the first meeting.
No, yes, we meet this is the second. We
Yeah,
meet
the
the
second,
second.
I can have it on the second. I can't have it on the first
Start on
meeting.
the Monday. So it's literally 8 days.
Yes.
What else you have, Mr. Johnson?
Okay. All right, well, if you look at page 1, but that's why, Councilman. The first is no way, we don't have the data yet. And so I'm just giving you August now. On page 1, through the 11th month, you'll see that your revenue compared to budget is a favorable position of $347,000. Revenue was $3,459,959 versus the budget of $3,112,000. That's a favorable position. You also have a favorable position when it comes to expenses. It's only $29,000, and that means that expenses are pretty well on budget. We had actual $2,929,000 versus a budget of $2,954,000. And with that, the other items, which is the capital expenditures and the payment on debt, we have an overall favorable variance, you see at the bottom, of $434,000 compared to budget, which is primarily the major favorable part of the variance is in the revenue side. So to make a long story short, we've experienced more revenue significantly than what we had budgeted for. I say significant, to the tune of $347,000. That's all revenue. Sales taxes, property taxes, and what have you. If you look over to page 2, page 2 will show you all of your bank depositories. And the total that we have in the bank at the end of August is funds available is $2,649,183,000. And that's primarily the general obligation bond of 2011 of $658,300. We do have $536,000 in the tax account, but that's going to be reduced somewhat when we make some transfers that need to be made to debt service. So that will be reduced somewhat there. Also, the balance in public works is $612,000. That's going to be reduced something also because we do have some outstanding debt that we need to pay in public works. USW.
Where are we getting, when are we, so outside of the monthly bill that we get from USW, that may be 40, like we have a set amount for their basic work. How are they submitting their invoices to where we owe them? Are they the majority of that $600,000 $600,000?
No, we don't owe them $600,000.
So
We only owe them 150, I got the invoice here.
But even that much is too much outside of regular daily
No, we don't
maintenance,
want
monthly maintenance.
We're behind in paying these no.
JJ, let me,
The current-
Mr. Johnson, let me help you with something. Last night, the sewer broke in front of the Waller County Community Center, and it's our sewer line, so we had to fix it. We had to call in the vacuum trucks from Houston, which are extremely expensive, and they had to call in someone to dig the hole. I left them at 1:30 in the morning after they found out it was a crimp in the line, and then they went to fix it. That's gonna be expensive. We have some of those in there. We also have current water main leak on University Drive, and we've been waiting on TxDOT approval, and you have to have a TxDOT certified contractor to break the street and that sort of thing. That's happened a couple of times, maybe 3 times in that budget cycle, and it's about to happen again because we're hoping they come in tomorrow. So these kinds of things that are unplanned expenses, but extremely expensive ones that we can't do. When I was talking with the USW guy there last night, he was sharing with me that, because we were thinking, okay, so maybe it would have been better if we carried our guys over and done it today, but he said the fines from TCEQ could have been as high as $100,000. So I had him called in the folks from Houston. But that's easily, $20,000 to $30,000, but it gets big, it's a health hazard, and we have a responsibility to get it done, so it was done. And just like the water leak, I mean, we're losing water, but we can't even fix it because it's a state road.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that are in there that don't add up. And I'm sorry, the USW bill, the people that came out last night for the sewer leak to repair that, they don't have a relationship with us, so USW calls them out. The billing goes under USW.
Right.
So USW bills look high, but it's not going to USW. It's a pass-through for some of these major repairs that we have to have done by those type of experts.
Yeah,
Councilman Randall?
their invoice is totally detailed and itemized. And we got copies of those.
I think it's important, JJ, that you would include those details in your report, because like Councilman Rowland raised the question, he looks at the report and he sees USW substantial amount of money, whereas if the mayor says all that money isn't going to USW, so I think it's important for transparency purposes to where you identify that, X amount of dollars are going to X amount of items. That way, I think there could be a better breakdown as far as because there's a lump sum that we pay USW every month. That's what's in their contract. I think everything outside of that contract needs to be.
I have it here. I can show you their invoice, and that'll show you everything that's here. That's why I brought one up.
Well,
No, what he's saying
I'm not
is
questioning
in
that
your
you have
report.
the invoice. I'm saying it
Well,
should be.
Let me show you how it will work. This will be it right here. USW invoice for the month of July was $25,988. Of that amount, the detail is right here. You can look at it.
This is for
That's what I can give you.
So, is it 2 questions?
Go ahead.
Is this just an example? Was this the last invoice bill you had?
No, that's the one for July that we do have to pay. I'm waiting on, I'm getting August bills that's coming in, but I had that one to show you.
No.
So you haven't gotten all this.
What my question
What's that? I have August.
is that hopefully we are, like if you look on page 33, Public Works, General Ledger,
Right.
it shows amounts. It shows we paid USW $55,829.69, just the base bill.
Right.
And then all this work equated up to, what was this PW collections of revenue?
Public Works.
So this is how much we collected versus all the expenses for the month.
Right.
Page 33 in our packet. In the from the red packet.
All right, page 33, that right there is the bank account. What that is everything that was paid for that month. Y'all had asked me, you wanted to
Correct,
see the
we wanted to see,
payment.
right.
Right, and that'll show you exactly what was paid. See, USW at the top,
Yes.
toward their bill, we paid $55,000.
And so, I guess the question, USW's base rate
$3,000 a month.
is not 55. I thought it was
It's
3,000.
$3,000 a month.
There's a reason why I'm asking this,
Yeah.
because
And
I
that's-
thought it was lower, so how are we paying them?
Look at that invoice and it will show you.
Yes, but this is the question. We've been paying them upwards to $55,000 every month.
No. We haven't paid them 55 every month. The reason why you see 55 here is that's three invoices. Their invoices for the months have been, yes, sir.
Before you-
Go ahead.
I think what we pay USW is a separate issue in
Mhm.
itself. What I'm asking for is that information needs to be included in
It
this
is.
report.
Go to page,
I don't even have a page 33, so
do you have a page 33?
that's why I stopped at 30.
Oh,
You
you,
page, is it page 16, JJ?
no, page
How this works?
30, you have a 33?
You don't have a
Why I
33.
stopped at 30.
Well, here, give me that one back. Take this one. The secretary, that's all.
Mr. Johnson, this is a good, bad example. But if you look on June 25th, it says Vector work.
Mhm.
That's those vacuum trucks who
Right.
suck up the sewer to keep the area safe, and then they,
We're not-
yeah.
we're not
No,
pushing the
I'm
word,
just saying.
I
No,
understand how much-
I was just sharing that with,
What I'm
by way of
saying, what I'm
example,
saying is
but
that
you
needs
want
to
the
be.
details,
Yeah,
yeah.
we shouldn't have to ask you where the $55,000 goes. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. We should be able, when we get this report, and we say, okay, we paid USW $3,000,
Mhm.
then we paid them an additional $52,000 for
Mhm.
that way, that limits the conversation that we have to have, because you've already given us the information. And I think
I can, go ahead.
I think
Tell me how you
that-
want it. I
That
can
kind
give
of
it to you.
information needs to be cross-sectional around anything that has a subset. So anything that we pay a fixed amount,
Mhm.
that we can be charged on top of our fixed amount, we need to know, like city attorney. When we got our agenda today, we had where it was broken down, what we paid the city
Right.
attorney an extra whatever, because of what, that stuff needs to be in our financial report, so we can.
It's in there, it's that, see, I would have to go over every line item.
No, we don't need to go over it.
Each line.
I'm just saying it needs to be in here.
It's in there. Go to page 33. It shows you what's paid to each.
But it's
that
not,
gives
it's not
each
broken
bank
down.
account.
JJ.
Huh?
It's not broken down. It
What
just
do you mean?
says
says
USW
USW.
55,000.
Right.
It doesn't have the breakdown, and we're asking for the breakdown because we know our
Okay.
base rate for USW
All
is
right,
3,000.
let
And
me tell
let
you.
me give you an example.
Go ahead.
Reason why I'm saying this. What is the total amount we paid USW for the last 10 months? If you do 50,000, or 50,000 times 12, it's $660,000. How much have we paid USW